From the studios of Staten Island Community Television, you're watching In the Bleachers, the TV show for the world's most passionate sports fans. Hello, everyone. I'm Jaime Hixson. As you could probably tell by the empty chair that you saw just moments ago, my broadcast partner, Hector Bosa, is running a little bit late, but he's going to be here hopefully within the next 5 minutes. So in the meantime, I'm going to be taking your phone calls at 718-727-0143. And also, don't forget to check out some past shows of ours on social media. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. We have a page on Facebook strictly for the show. You can either catch it there or you can catch it on my personal Facebook page. And you can also check it out on Twitter as well. As far as what's been going on lately, well, needless to say, there's been a whole lot of hot stuff going on in the NFL, not just on the field, but off the field as well. And also, I don't know about you, but I'm already looking forward to baseball season, especially after the Yankees basically committed a Brinks job of a robbery and wound up getting Giancarlo Stanton from the Miami Marlins, I should say. And just consider at least 5 out of the 9 spots in the batting order. And it looks like we suddenly went black for a moment. There we go. Consider 5 out of the 9 spots in the batting order: Giancarlo Stanton, Aaron Judge, Didi Gregorius, Greg Bird, Gary Sanchez. You have the potential to see maybe 150 to 200 home runs being hit by that quintet alone. Now, the Yankees already also made a move to get Chase Headley back in San Diego to get some outfield depth, which is pretty interesting considering that they're already loaded in the outfield as is. But my guess is the kid that they wound up getting from the Padres for Headley, Jabari Blatch is the kid's name. In all likelihood, he's going to be right up there with Aaron Hicks, and as far as probably spelling the other guys some time in the outfield as well. So you consider it's Blatch, Aaron Hicks, also Jacoby Ellsbury, who's still got 3 more years left on his contract, and there's also Brett Gardner to go along with Judge and Stanton. The batting order itself is one thing, but their outfield depth has gotten really, really bloated. You can never have too many outfielders, but at the same time, we already know that 2 of those spots have already been taken. It's now just a matter of who's going to be taking left or center or right. There's already debate about who's going to be the right fielder. Is it going to be Stanton? Is it going to be Aaron Judge? The same thing can be said with left field. There's still the matter of center field, though, because you're going to have 3 guys, now 4 guys, going for 1 spot in center field. So that's going to be something that they're going to have to decide for themselves in the next month or 2.
And what is that?
As we speak, we just got Hector into the studio.
Yes.
So
you know what delayed me?
Traffic.
No.
It was traffic.
No.
It was traffic.
No.
It was traffic.
No.
It wasn't any women because
No.
there are no such thing as women in your life.
There is no women such.
There's no such thing as women in your
world are
life
you
because
living in?
no woman likes you.
Really?
Anyway.
No woman likes me.
No woman likes you
Not
whatsoever.
one woman likes me.
And for the record, we just saw our dear friend Tracy White wave to us from the other side of the glass.
And Guy Cormier and
Guy's
Vero
all
G.
over here as well. He's actually in the middle of editing right now.
Vero G as well.
Yeah,
Vero G likes me. That's a girl.
That also
That she
explains
counts.
the cackle that we heard from the other side of the glass.
Me? See, there's a
And
girl
there they
that
are.
counts. So stick it
Guy
up
is-
the rear end. Okay,
No,
so look at
I
this.
think you know exactly what you can do with your
yes.
opinion of yourself.
Yes, thank you very
And
much.
Guy
because
and Vero and Tracy
am
are all waving to us from the other side of the glass. 3 very, very good friends of ours.
What were you talking about before? Because there was something.
You know,
very
leave it
special.
up to you to always fall behind
I am
in the sports
no,
world.
I love. I mean,
And it's-
women love it from behind.
Can we stop with this
And
already,
women
please?
Like it from the front, they like it from the side.
You know,
they like it from the top.
you're digging yourself a
Ding it,
really
ding it,
big
ding it,
hole
ding it.
for yourself. You know that, right? You're digging yourself a very big hole for yourself.
There are holes to be filled, and I am like the landfill. I fill them. But
Yeah,
you know
you're
what?
definitely like the landfill because you stink.
No, because of other things. But I'm not going to say anything because this is supposed to be a clean show.
Seriously,
So,
can we
yes,
please
yes.
get to the task
Yes.
at hand?
The New York Yankees. That's what you're
I
talking
was
about,
just
right?
talking about them moments ago.
I have a question for you. If they shouldn't get Machado because they already got this big stud.
You're talking about Manny Machado of the
Machado.
Orioles?
Yeah, they shouldn't get him. Honestly,
Well, if
unless they can get him as a
if they're
free agent.
really serious about trading for him, then that means they're going to have to really give up a lot from their farm system, which is really not necessarily a good idea because they built that farm system for a long time, and they've been using that farm system reasonably well to try and make something of their future. But after the year they had this year, the future is 2018 because everybody is expecting them to win the World Series right now.
Well, here's the thing, and that is no, because I'm trying to.
And we also failed to mention CC Sabathia got himself a new deal for next year.
Now, who's the guy that they signed? The new guy that they signed right now? The Yankees, because they signed a good bopper. He plays right field now. No, left field.
That's the guy that I was talking about. I think it's Jabari Blatch, which is the kid's name. He wound up getting acquired from San Diego in the Headley deal.
Now, they were talking about because this guy named Torres has played.
Gleyber Torres, you mean?
Yeah, Gleyber. He was supposed to be.
He is
the
one of their
shortstop.
top
Now,
prospects
he was
right
supposed
now.
to play shortstop before Didi Gregorius. Torres got hurt. Gregorius got short. Do you think that they'll put him at third base?
They're thinking about it.
And take their chances with that, and then have a really, they don't, and
A
then
really
if-
young infield,
Yeah.
possibly.
And then if they want to wait for Machado, that's his name?
Manny Machado.
Manny Machado. If they want to wait for Manny Machado, he's a free agent next year. If he wants to be with the Yankees next year, unless you don't have to give up a lot for him.
Oh, they
Get him.
have to give up a lot for
And
him.
also-
If they're going to try and talk turkey with the Orioles, they're going to give up a lot for him.
And also if you know,
Which is not something Yankee fans really want to see because they're really starting to get attached to the way the Yankees are working right now.
Well, that's the thing. They actually have new and old, which is good, but they have more new than old.
And that's assuming that they don't bring back Todd Frazier because Todd Frazier was the guy that wound up taking over at third base for Chase Headley after
Actually,
the trade with the White Sox last summer.
yeah, he left. They don't know if he's coming back or not.
He's a free agent right
He's
now,
a
but
free agent. He wants to come back.
he
with
wants
the
to come
Yankees.
back, but he wants a multi-year deal.
Right.
The Yankees may not want to give him a multi-year deal.
And because there is, here, read this for a second while I talk to you about something because that's a lot of information about the Yankees right now, and that is, ladies and gentlemen, the XFL may come back.
Oh, brother.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Vince McMahon and his corporation, a side corporation, which I will unveil to you at the moment, will be bringing back, or they're trying to bring back, or hopefully they will bring back the XFL, hopefully better than before, which is great. It's good to see them actually try to do something different since there's so much controversy right now with, you don't hear anything about the knee on the floor anymore as much as it should be covered. You don't hear
You
about
mean knee injuries?
No, knee, because of the American flag. You don't hear about that anymore. You notice how they just stopped.
It's died down a little
It's
bit because a
dying
lot of these
down.
guys are either locking arms, as is their prerogative, or they're just standing all together without having to lock arms.
And it's the funniest thing in the world to me because now the XFL may come back for a second run
I'm telling you, that's a bad idea.
Now, you read the Yankee part. What did you think of what they were talking
As far as what they want to do with third base, they've got a lot of options. If they don't bring back Todd Frazier, there's still Ronald Torreyes, who played very, very well as a supporting infielder last year. He started in Gregorius' place when Gregorius was hurt the first month of the season. And Torreyes, not only did he play a lot, he also played very well. He was a good contact hitter, and he played really solid defense for them in the infield. There's also Gleyber Torres, like we mentioned. There's also Tyler Wade, another prospect in the minor leagues that they're considering very, very much. So that's probably 4 good, make that 5 good options that they have, because there's also Miguel Andujar, who played, I think, one or two games for them over the summer, and he looked great. But then all of a sudden they had to, just as quickly as he got promoted to the Yankees, he wound up getting sent back to AAA.
Hey, people live and people die, and, that's the way thing goes.
Yeah.
You know? And right now, at least you see the Yankees moving forward. The Mets seem to be in a fog.
In a fog or in a torrential downpour?
A fog down, as if they don't know what they're doing, if they're coming or going. What is it about the Mets that they lost their ship? It's like the Titanic right now.
The only thing the Mets have been able to do so far is get a manager, which is important. And what has been their top free agent acquisition right now? Anthony Swarzak, who's a veteran reliever. That's been it. Other than that, they have been extremely quiet.
But there's no direction.
There was also a Matt Harvey rumor that he was going to be traded to the Texas Rangers for Jurickson Profar, which I think would have been a good trade because the Mets need infield depth.
I can see Harvey being traded. I really could see Harvey. Now what is he worth? That's a whole different ballgame, because he wasn't so. He was hurt. He wasn't all
the majority of the year, and when he was on the mound, he looked horrendous.
Also, did you hear what happened? Since management has a slight problem talking about wrestling and politics, oh dear God, God forbid, I want to know about that guy from Swan.
Swan?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Rick Swan, the 205.
Oh, the wrestler from
WWE,
the Cruiserweight division?
Yeah, the Cruiserweight division.
This is the first I've heard about it.
Oh, man. He's supposedly kidnapped. He was in this car, got out of his car, tried to take his girlfriend or his wife in there.
Oh,
and,
brother.
And of course the WWE let him go right away.
Well,
until they fix the problem.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem here is that there have been things done worse in the WWE that unless
Chris Benoit, anyone?
Unless you were very popular, like Hulk Hogan, eventually they're going to bring him back. And they're talking about bringing him back this year.
But to do what?
Just to make appearances like he used to, because the man, whatever you can say about him, he actually is still 80s, 90s icon. He's out there.
Mm-hmm.
And he still brings in fannies to seats. People want to see him.
Yeah.
But when
he can only do so much with a pair of bad hips at 64 years of age, though.
You know what? He wrestled with a pair of bad hips, and he did pretty good. As long as you have a good wrestler that knows how to tangle with him, because right now you had Clash of Champions, and to my understanding, it wasn't that good. And you had AJ Styles is really building it up for that team right now. Also, New Japan Pro Wrestling,
which I finally saw
At
a little
my
bit
house.
for the first time
Right.
not too long ago.
What did you think of it?
I loved it.
It
was
it's
tremendous.
Great.
It's tremendous competition that they have going.
It's
For some
great.
reason, our friend Rosanna is not impressed with that
She-
promotion, though.
No, she's impressed with it. She's impressed. She's not impressed with WWE and so on because they're doing the same thing, and because she sees it so much. When you have a tendency, because I eat it up like it's soup and everything else. You know, if you see something too much, you know, it repels you sometimes. But when it comes to New Japan Pro Wrestling, January 6th, their WrestleMania, Chris Jericho versus Kenny Omega is going to be the Alpha versus Omega. Jericho, who has been with the WWE for the longest time and said he would not wrestle for any other company other than the WWE, he's going to New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he's going to wrestle January 6th with Tanahashi being there and Los Ingonables, and I'm telling you, all them guys there, and Access TV, who's I think owned by Mark Cuban, and
Right.
New Japan Pro Wrestling as well. They're saying that they're beating MMA when
Nice.
it comes to money.
Well, they've
When it
always
comes-
taken their
and
they've always
MMA
taken
was
their
overpriced.
wrestling
MMA
very, very seriously.
MMA was overpriced when they sold the MMA. When I think Dana White sold the MMA, they were overpriced.
Yeah. Speaking of MMA, the big fight that's going to be taking place at the end of the year is for the women's title, which is Cyborg and
Oh, this is nice. Excuse me for a moment. Hello, how may I help you?
it's Cyborg versus
thank you.
Holly Holm.
Holly Holm.
Yeah, Holly Holm and Cyborg are going to fight each other for the title.
And you know something? That's going to be funny. Because Holly Holm, you know, after losing and regaining, you know, that's a bouncing ball in itself. Now, they're going to try to get Ronda Rousey in the WWE.
At this rate, she could do anything she wants.
And Cyborg actually wants to fight her in WWE as well. Since she can't get her in the octagon, they're going to try to get her into the WWE. So wherever they're trying to set up Flair versus Rousey. Also, TNA or whatever it's being called, they're doing a great job with Bobby Lashley and all them other MMA guys like King Mo and all them great guys coming out. Ethan Carter's doing well. Spud. Ooh, look. You actually had an idea. Spud, Rockstar Spud, who was in TNA, will be in 205 Live with Adiho Atami. Something Atami. Great fighter, gets hurt a lot, but is a fantastic fighter. And I'm telling you now, 205 and the women's division need a tag team division. Plain, simple English.
Why is there no respect, much less attention, being given to the tag team division anymore?
Well, TNA had a women's tag team division. WCW had a women's tag, but WWE never had a tag team division that I know of.
Well,
they
not like
never
the
had
old
it.
days.
Even in the old days, they never had a women's tag team division that I know of. Now, if they have enough women now to do it, the problem is the writing. How will they write them? Will the storylines make sense? Because you have a lot of guys, people out there, that if you're not writing them very well, if you're only concentrating on just 6 people, the other guys aren't going to make you money. You're not going to care. How are you going to care for anybody? It's like baseball. If you really care for this Machado guy, you're willing to spend money for the guy. And you want him to put fannies in his seats and you want him to win. Same thing with wrestling. It's the same premise. I think that if you write them well, now Jim Cornette, who I enjoy very much,
Has a really good podcast from what I heard.
Fantastic broad podcast. I love what he does about politics, but what I enjoy about him is that he says that they should rotate the talent a little bit.
When you say rotate, what do you mean?
Give, let's say, Roman Reigns time off, like 3 or 4 months, and bring in another fresh guy that can take his place, and so forth. That way you have a plethora of top guys like they did in the 80s, like they did in the Attitude Era, because there was a bunch of top guys. Now there's only, what, 3?
Yeah.
2, if you can mention them?
2 or 3, yeah.
2 or 3 top guys that you can mention. Samoa Joe, I think, is a top guy. AJ Styles is a top guy. Braun Strowman is a top guy.
Why not look at other guys who've been around with them for a while that have not been considered top guys? Why not try and groom them to be top guys?
And that's what I think Cornette means by rotating the rotation. That way people can have the proper rest. And then you can feature the other guys that you need. Because a lot of times you have extra players in there that you don't really need. Let them go to the indies, because right now New Japan Pro Wrestling is really doing a hell of a job.
You know, something just occurred to me. There have been a lot of shoot interviews that have been taking place on YouTube, one of which involved Stone Cold.
Yeah.
Specifically the one where he discusses...
He's got one, I'm sorry to cut you off, but he's got one that's non-cursing, and he's got one that's cursing. He's got one that's called Unleashed and so forth. But
one of the discussions was the fact that the business has had very, very, very few African-American world heavyweight champions.
That's true.
Why don't we see more African-American heavyweight champions in the industry?
I'll tell you why. Very simple. Forget African-Americans for a moment. Let's talk about all nationalities for a moment. Okay, because it's not always about black and white sometimes. It's about always the ethnicity. Because let me ask you something. Who was the last Latino wrestler that won the WWE belt? Tracy, you can kick in on this one.
The last full-fledged Latino?
Yes.
Born in the States or outside the States?
Doesn't matter. He wrestled for the WWE. Oh, okay. I'll get it later. I'll give you.
There are 2 guys that I can think of, but I might be incorrect. It's either Rey Mysterio or Alberto Del Rio.
Okay, Mexicans, but that's okay because they're in the Latino organization. But Pedro Morales was the last Puerto Rican to hold it. Now, if you count Rey Mysterio and you count Hector Guerrero, don't forget him.
Right.
Okay? Look at the length of that. Now, you also have Rocky, The Rock. Again, that's still a long time.
Yeah.
Okay? Let me ask you something. Who was the last Asian to win a WWE belt?
The last Asian?
Yep.
I don't think we've ever had an Asian WWE champion.
Thank you. So you know why? Because it's about racism, brother. It's always about racism.
That's what I was afraid of.
That's why I enjoy TNA a little bit better, because they're pushing more. A lot of ethnicities so far. But I'm just saying that Vince McMahon has had a lot of lawsuits.
Yeah.
Because of racism,
Concussions, yeah.
and all that other stuff. And look what's happening in football and in baseball, and look at all them other blasted sports. You have to what's that law in football that you have to have a minority?
Oh, you mean the Rooney Rule?
The Rooney Rule.
The Dan Rooney Rule.
Why in
You
Blue
have to interview at least one minority candidate.
Why in Blue Blazers is that?
Because African Americans have helped to build
Right.
the sport into the multi-billion-dollar industry that
I
it is
ask
now.
you again. Well, who was the last Asian coach that was there?
The last Asian coach in the NFL?
Yes. Thank you. I rest
Never.
my
There's
Thank
never
you.
been an Asian
I
head
rest
coach
my
in the NFL.
case. Who was the last Latin coach?
Ron Rivera.
Ron Rivera.
He's still in
That's-
Carolina now.
That's one. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one. How many black coaches or African American coaches have you had
All time or currently?
currently?
Marvin Lewis, Todd Bowles. Those are two that I know of. Anthony Lynn, who's with the Chargers.
Right.
Also, those are the three that I can think of right now.
But
But there are probably more that I'm missing.
But do you see what I mean? You need the Rooney Rule so you can do.
Mike Tomlin of the Steelers. That makes four.
I always like to say minority. I don't like to say African American. I like to say all minorities in general.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, we're Americans first, ladies and gentlemen. We're not minorities. We're Americans first. Far and foremost, we're Americans. They put the names of minorities for us because they have to put names on things like Jell-O and marshmallows and so forth, But, didn't you go to St. John's, man?
Yes, I did.
And didn't St. John's top Iowa?
You mean Iona College? Yeah. They played each other in the holiday festival at the Garden yesterday.
I saw that yesterday.
And
look at that. Isn't that lovely?
It was actually pretty scary for St. John's for a while because Iona wound up shooting themselves back into the game, mostly with the three-point shot. But St. John's just bottled them up so badly defensively, especially in the interior. One good thing that St. John's has going for them, they've got great youth, got a lot of freshmen and sophomores, great athletic ability. They've got a little bit more length, and they're shooting the three-pointer slightly better this year. Mm-hmm. Not only that, but they're also bringing in transfer students. They're bringing in guys from Michigan State and Arizona and a couple of the junior colleges as well.
Right.
And they're finally giving a chance to a couple of the New York kids that have been basically overlooked by the other schools. Two New York kids in particular, Bashir Ahmed and Shamori Pons, who right now is their best offensive threat. Their best defensive threat, probably Tariq Owens, who was born upstate but grew up in Baltimore.
Right.
And right now, Tariq Owens has become their best defensive player and has even added a little bit of a perimeter game to St. John's arsenal. But right now, they're playing really good, and it's a good thing that they've got a really soft schedule to pad their record right now because the really meaty part of the schedule, which is the Big East Conference schedule, which starts at the end of the year, that's going to be coming up for them. And there's the Duke game.
Right.
And you mentioned it before.
Georgetown, too. Losing.
Georgetown versus St. John's.
Oh, man, that's a rivalry.
Speaking of which, did you know Georgetown and their other rival from their Big East days, from the old Big East, Syracuse,
Yes.
Jim Boeheim and Patrick Ewing coached against each other for the first time this past weekend. Syracuse won the game in overtime, but I'll tell you right now, seeing Patrick back in
Georgetown?
back at Georgetown was a real sight for sore eyes. He's got them playing well, too. He's got them playing really, really well. And he's got some really good guard play in his arsenal as well.
You want to know, going back to racism for a moment, you know what the worst racism is? I'll tell you the worst racism is. It's rich against poor,
Yeah.
right? Minorities versus everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Women get killed too.
Oh, forget about
They
it.
should be getting paid the same wages as anybody else. Now, do I want to see them in the NBA as coaches? Yeah, sure.
I'll tell you right now, there's
know
one
what?
there's one woman right now in the NBA who's doing really
Yeah,
good for herself.
she's a coach.
Becky
which
Hammond with the Spurs.
Beautiful. Now, do I want to see them as a player, a female player going into the men's league? No. You know,
Well, that's why they have the WNBA.
No, I know, but there's going to be one that's going to attempt, and they're going to say, well, it's chauvinism. No, the reason why I'm saying no is for one reason alone, and that is if you want to have a co-ed league, let them have a co-ed league. You already have the WNBA. Let the men have the men's stuff. Let the women have the women's stuff. Because here's how I prove my theory. When a female goes to a male locker room, that's okay. Men get naked in front of them, and they're, even though they shouldn't take it, but they have to somewhat take it.
Well,
because you've heard.
Unless you're Lisa Olsen.
Yeah. And and things happen in the male locker room.
Mm-hmm.
But when was the last time a male reporter went into a female locker room?
I don't
and
think
she comes out of the shower and you're trying to go, excuse me, how was your backhand today? That's not going to happen.
I think that's why they have a press room for everybody
exactly,
now.
and that's
so reporters can wait for the athletes and coaches.
And that's the whole point. If you notice that for the men they don't do that, for the women they do.
That's a good point.
That's
really good
why
point.
I'm going.
So basically, what you're saying, there should be equal opportunity for everyone.
If you're gonna do it for one, you're gonna do it for the other. But let's try to have some fun.
I think we're already having fun. We've had fun this first half hour.
Because it's a situation where, it's heartening. It's heartening enough because there's a lot of things that are troublesome out in the world that people don't want to talk about, like the blasted knee. They still get huff and puffed about that and all that and so on. And we can't talk about wrestling much, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? Let's talk about more. You talk about more.
When you say more, do you want to talk about more interesting topics, or do you want to talk about more Catholic high school?
More Catholic high school, please.
There you go. Well, this is in girls basketball right now.
Let's talk about blasted Staten Island for a change.
Yep. More Catholic wound up winning 52-37 over Preston Academy. And in a matchup of public schools versus Catholic schools, Tottenville wound up winning 47-44 over St. Joseph's.
Yes.
And then we have my alma mater, Curtis. Unfortunately, they had a tough time over the weekend. They lost to Francis Lewis 52-39. But Wagner wound up winning 72-38 over Banneker. And then you've got St. Joseph Hill, not to be confused with the other St. Joseph. This is St. Joseph Hill. They won 38-21 over Preston. Scanlon, which is, if I'm not mistaken, up in the Bronx, they wound up winning 58-54 over Notre Dame Academy. And Newdorp won 54-31 over Grady, which is in Brooklyn.
You know what I like? I like this show because you could actually talk about, when they allow you to, and talk about blasted anything, because that's what CTV is about, because even in the rules and regulations, it doesn't say anything about it. So,
well, we talked about the girls.
We talked about
on the
boys
side,
let's talk about the boys.
Wagner won 75-45 over Petrides.
All right.
Farrell won 54-39 over St. Edmund. And Moore won 68-35 over Cathedral Prep.
Oh, and what do you think of that? Is that something? Is
Yeah.
that? Yeah. Look.
Once upon a time, there was.
Isn't that a
bad?
shame? Isn't that a shame? Ain't that a shame?
That place looks familiar.
Yeah.
Schaefer's Tavern. Oh, I know where that is.
Yeah, that's the corner. Yeah.
That's if I'm not mistaken, right off of Bradley Avenue, isn't
yeah,
it?
they're gonna knock it down.
That's no good.
They're gonna knock it down.
That's not good.
They're gonna try to make bigger. bigger.
As if they haven't done that already on Richmond
That's
Avenue with the
expansion.
mall.
They say, you see, Boulevard expansion.
Wow.
But anyway, it's iconic. Get enough pictures before it goes, ladies and gentlemen. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? Let's talk about, before we get to the NFL, because the Yankees are a hot topic. And
They've been a really hot topic.
I mean, because they're trying to make trades.
Well, they just made the Stanton trade. That I don't want to say it put them over the top, but it really strengthened their batting order. That's for sure.
Because now they got
Sanchez, Aaron Judge, Stanton, also
Didi
Gregorius, and Greg Bird.
But here's the thing. The part about 6 pitches, I still go with Girardi. I think 5 pitches is enough and get enough relievers in there instead of having 6 relievers and then shorten your relief staff and have not too many bench players.
It's funny you mentioned relievers because the Yankees have a real plethora of relievers. Aroldis Chapman, Dylan Betances, Chad Green, too. Tommy Canley, who they got from the White Sox and pitched very well for them during the season. There was some talk that the Yankees might trade a reliever to fill a need, whether it's filling a need in the starting rotation, or maybe filling a need at third base, or maybe filling a need on the bench. Should the Yankees sacrifice one of their relievers to try and fill another need, or should they just stand pat?
If they have a plethora of pitchers that they could let go, and they really need that person in that position, yes. However, if they have enough kids down in the minor league system where they're going to bring up and they're going to test them, leave as is. Don't touch nothing unless it's a really big score.
Yep.
Like the Machado. Would you
Manny Machado, you mean?
Would you trade 2 of your best prospects for him?
It's hard. It's really hard because Manny is such a devastating slugging third baseman. He's also a terrific defensive third baseman. He's exactly what the Yankees need at one of the hot corners, but sacrificing so much to help a division rival, I can't do it.
And that's another thing, too. Why would Baltimore help
why would Baltimore help the Yankees?
And
why would the Yankees help Baltimore?
Hey,
So to answer your question, the answer is no.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw you some names. You're gonna tell me what you think. Boston 25-7, and Toronto, what is that? 20-8.
Which sport you talking
Basketball.
about? Basketball. The Celtics are the best team in the Eastern Conference right now. They're playing terrifically, especially on the defensive end. And considering the fact that Kyrie Irving has been in and out of the lineup because he's been hurt, he's back in the lineup now because he's
Are they
healthy
they're
a little
better
bit.
with him?
Oh, they're much better with him, especially offensively. Defensively is going to be a problem because Kyrie is going to be exposed really badly in matchups.
Okay, now, New York Knicks, Philadelphia, and
Philadelphia's up and down.
Nets.
Philadelphia's up and down. I will say this. Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons are the future for that team.
And the guy that they got, what's his name? Okafor?
And the guy that the Nets wound up getting, Jahlil Okafor, and also Nick Stauskas. Okafor is going to help them in
Danton too.
Yeah,
the two played.
I think Okafor can help them if the game is really slow. He's going to be really good in the post, but defensively, he's an embarrassment to watch. He doesn't hustle. He's very, very slow, and there are times when he looks like he's taking plays off defensively.
But you know what? They also got that other kid too. That other kid as well that plays center. So hey, if you can have him on the floor to rest the other guy. Now, what do you think about the Knicks?
They're playing a hell of a lot better this year than last year.
No.
Because for one, Kristaps Porzingis is
Stop
playing.
banging because they're hearing you blast. You're going this.
They're
No.
playing well because Kristaps Porzingis is playing like a possible most valuable player candidate. He is doing everything for them from the perimeter, in the post. He's gotten slightly better defensively. Keep in mind, he's a rim protector. But more importantly, if he stays on the floor, the Knicks have a much better chance of competing. And he also needs to have Tim Hardaway on the floor. And that's really saying a lot considering the Knicks overpaid for him. But he's actually played well this year.
Courtney Lee has
played well. Doug McDermott has done very well for them in a supporting role. Enes Kanter has been great offensively in the post.
Even defensively to some degree. He has, because of his size and so forth, all he's got to do is
he's a big body that a lot of other
shots.
centers are going to have major problems with. He's a big, strong guy. He's also a dirtbag, real dirtbag, especially offensively. Offensively, did you see the way that he was jawing with LeBron James?
You should.
A month ago.
Should.
He's exactly what Charles Oakley gave the Knicks 25 to 30 years ago.
He used to be the tough man. Now, do you sign him next year?
If he keeps playing well the way he does, if they can get him to sign not necessarily a hometown discount, but a respectable deal, then yes, I would bring him back.
Let me ask you this. Right now, the way the team is, what do you think they need right now?
What do they need right now?
The way the team is built right now, Porzingis is out, hurt. What's his name? Hardaway is out.
Mm-hmm. And he's going to be
what
out
else?
for.
What do they need if they were in, and now that they're out? What do they need?
A second go-to scorer. And a more offensively minded point guard.
They would have to trade for that, or do you homegrown?
I would like to see them maybe get someone who's homegrown, but at this rate, they might get a mid to low round draft pick if they were to make the playoffs.
In the
so
second
my
round,
guess is maybe they could try and cut a deal for somebody. See, this is where someone like Eric Bledsoe would have fit in really nicely for them because Eric Bledsoe is a good offensive point guard. But now he's in Milwaukee and he's working with Giannis Antetokounmpo right now, and they're doing reasonably well.
And the only guy I feel bad for is Hernan Gomez.
Willie Hernan Gomez. He's been invisible.
Yeah, I feel bad for him because, but Kyle O'Quinn has come out of nowhere and played.
He's played much better basketball on each side of the ball.
Now, do you think it's because? Do you think Phil Jackson left the team in a good way, but had a bad taste because of the triangle defense and had Jeff Hornacek looming like a black cloud?
The triangle defense was miserable, failed miserably for that team. He did make some respectable pickups. For example, signing Ron Baker, which is not as bad as people make him out to be.
I like him.
He's a decent shooter. He's a decent
good
shooter.
Defensive player. He's a good, smart player, too.
And also, making the Carmelo Anthony trade where they wound up getting Kanter and McDermott beforehand.
Plus a draft choice.
Yeah, and another draft choice as well, which turned out to be Damian Dotson, who's now in the D League, or now they call it the G League.
Yeah, but he's good though. Dotson,
great shooter, great 3-point shooter.
If he progresses well, you may not need anybody. I mean, you're doing good. But
I still want to see them.
You always want to see them progress.
I want to see them progress defensively. That's what I want to see them do. They need to progress defensively.
But they're not doing that badly defensively because they've won some games.
And I would like to see them have a little bit more of a killer instinct too.
You know.
I mean, take a look at what happened in the Oklahoma City game. Carmelo Anthony made his return. He shot dreadfully, yet somehow OKC was able to turn it into a real game. They got a good team, though, and it helps that they have a really dangerous trio. Melo, Paul George, and Russell Westbrook as well. But at the same time, the Knicks need to develop more of a killer instinct. That way they can be a little bit more comfortable with the lead. And also, stop losing to the Chicago Bulls.
I ask you, who would you trade on the team?
Who on the Knicks would I trade?
Which one or two players would you trade to get that one guy?
It depends on what I'm looking for, though.
What are you looking for?
I want a secondary go-to scorer to try and take the pressure off of.
Frank Ntilikina is not doing it for you.
He's doing it for them defensively, but offensively, he has a really suspect jump shot.
And how is he panning out for you right now?
Defensively, he's doing really well.
Kid, as a 19-year-old
overall,
kid,
he's playing well. Ntilikina is playing well. I just want to see him work on his jump shot more because it's really suspect.
He's got to beef up too. I mean,
he's like a toothpick.
Right now.
But that wingspan he's got almost 7 foot wingspan.
So
you don't teach 6'5" in height and 7 feet in wingspan. You very rarely see that.
You know, and it's good talking about the Knicks in a positive way, and as badly as the Nets are doing,
the Brooklyn Nets,
yeah,
unfortunately they're falling back down to earth a little bit. They've lost a couple of games.
But the thing is, they're going in a positive way too because they really do have nice players.
Yeah, they do. I really like the Jahlil Okafor trade that they made. If they can give him some time, and also if he could just work a little hard and care a little bit more, they really
if he had
will
something
have
to care about
something.
too. You know, the guy he had because
he was not given a fair shake in Philly though, because he got caught. Yeah, well, the thing is, when he was in Philly for a year and a half, he got caught up in a numbers game. He had to play with 3 other big men. I mean, he had to play alongside Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons and a couple of other guys. But now Philadelphia brings in Trevor Booker for Nick Stauskas and Jahlil Okafor. Okafor had a decent debut the other night. Nick Stauskas has a chance to be a really good player for them because he's a really good shooter.
Would you get rid of Kristaps Porzingis if you can get rid of Joakim Noah?
I wouldn't do it.
You wouldn't do it?
No. He's not necessarily a franchise player, but he is a really important player for the Knicks to build around.
Do you think, and this will be the last question on Knicks, do you think the way the Knicks are now, do you think that there are players out there that want to come and want to play with the Knicks organization now?
If they can maintain some consistency, as opposed to this win 1, lose 1, or win 2, lose 2 scenario, possibly there may be some, not necessarily superstar players, but very, very good players who may want to make their way to the Garden. Let me put it this way. Don't expect LeBron James to be suiting up in a Knick uniform next year. Don't expect Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving or any other superstar.
Well, Kyrie Irving wanted to play for New York.
In a Knick uniform.
Kyrie Irving did want to play for New York.
The problem was the Knicks didn't really have that much
but
for the Celtics to make a deal with.
He's a free agent now.
Plus,
he's a free agent. Come on.
He's a free agent, but at the same time, why would the Celtics want to deal with a division rival, especially a long-standing division rival that they hate?
I would say because if you have a growing team like the Celtics have a nice nucleus of a growing team. So do the Knicks. If the Knicks continue on, like you said, with the building and the growing, if people want to come, if they want to come play with the Knicks, just like people want to play with the Yankees.
Yeah.
And
people definitely want to play with the Yankees.
If you're a winner or they see potential, they want to play with you.
Yeah.
Even with the Mets, as bad as they are now. Before, when they were winners, people wanted to come to this team and actually help them win. Now it's like the Titanic. They're going up and down. But I'm going to throw you some names. Washington, Miami, Orlando, Charlotte, and Atlanta. Washington at 16-13, Miami 15-14, Orlando 11-20, Charlotte 10-19, and Atlanta 6-23.
Right now, well, Atlanta's record speaks for itself. They are dreadful. And the way things are going, I'll tell you right now, nobody wants to be an Atlanta Hawk. watch out for Washington in a playoff series because they have got a really dangerous quartet. John Wall, Bradley Beal, Marcin Gortat, Markieff Morris, who's a very underrated center. Gortat, a very good offensive center, and pretty tough defensively as well. Do not underestimate the Wizards.
Oh,
Miami's got pretty decent youth on their side, specifically with Justice Winslow. And also, Dion Waiters has been the go-to guy for them.
Yes. Okay. In your Central Division,
Orlando and Atlanta are horrible.
Yeah, Orlando.
Charlotte, I would say, Charlotte's got problems though, but they really need to step it up, especially from their backcourt.
Who's the underdog on that division? Who do you think may have a chance to pull it?
Miami.
Miami.
I would definitely say Miami because they've got better young players.
And Pat Riley knows his stuff. He's been doing it for a while now. He knows how to. He really does know how to.
Speaking
pull
of
trades.
which, the guy who's been coaching the Heat for the last almost a decade now, Eric Spoelstra, he just became Miami's all-time winningest coach.
Oh, how diggity
He now has more than 450 wins as the head coach of the Heat. And somehow, whether he's got a big three or if he's got a group of young players, he always seems to get the job done. He's just a brilliant, brilliant guy.
Was there a coach in the NBA that they didn't give a chance to? That
there have been many coaches that have not gotten a chance.
This year, that they should have kept them a little longer to see if they would have progressed. Because I know there was one that they let go too damn quickly. And
I would have liked to have seen the guys in Phoenix and in Sacramento give their coaches a little bit more of a long leash.
Okay, in the Central Division, Cleveland at 22-8. Indiana 17-13, Detroit 17-13, Milwaukee 15-13, Chicago 8-20 in 2 minutes.
I'll tell you right now, Indiana has surprised a lot of people. Last night they were in Brooklyn and they wound up beating the Nets. The two guys to watch for on that team, actually there's a whole bunch of guys to watch for on that team, but one in particular is Victor Oladipo. He's finally gotten the chance to show his worth, and he has become a great clutch player for them.
You keep on talking about it. I'm going to open the door.
Detroit is someone who I would not take lightly either. They've gotten great defensive play from Avery Bradley, and also Marcus Morris has really been providing a lot of toughness playing in the middle. And also Andre Drummond, who basically has been very underappreciated by the Pistons, if you ask me, has really been providing a lot of the board work and scoring for them.
That's
in addition,
for you. Somebody must be calling you.
Well, it's probably the bank. They can hold for a little bit.
Okay. Now, hold on a second, because, guys, we got two special guests, but I just want to get this down. Western Conference. Houston 24-4, San Antonio 20-10, New Orleans 15-15, Memphis 9-21, Dallas at 8-22. Also, Northwest Division, Minnesota 17-13, Portland 16-13, Denver 16-13, Oklahoma City 14-15, Utah 14-15, Pacific Division, Golden State 23-6, LA Clippers 11-17. Yay. You got LA Lakers, they're at where they're at 10-17, Phoenix 10-21. Sacramento 9-20. What have you got to say in one wrap up?
Plain and simple, Houston and Golden State are the two best teams right now.
Come on, guys.
Chris Paul has been outstanding. James Harden has been a beast.
Come on.
Golden State is Golden State. I still think they're going to be the champions. I'm a little worried as to why Oklahoma City is being pressured into trying to make a deal. What for? They've got the trio that they need, so let bygones be bygones.
So, come closer.
Right now, we're being joined by two very special guests. Hector, can you move a little bit to your left, please?
Yeah. You scoot over here. And no, come on. Act like you know me. Good Lord.
We
can't
have
sit on that.
two
gotta
of our
break- you gotta
best
break on that. You
friends
gotta break on that, man.
make their way into the studio.
Don't do that. You
Our dear friend Vero,
Yes,
and of
thank
course our dear friend Tracy White.
You're gonna break it. Oh, okay. He gets in
How you
trouble if
doing,
you break
folks?
it. Okay.
Much of a sports fan,
No,
but good to see you.
but guys, I wanted to say one thing.
Mm-hmm.
New England, Buffalo, Miami, and Jets. How they doing?
New England just won the Eastern Division
Don't
last
worry,
night.
we got the minutes
That's
left.
15 times in 17 years that New England has won the AFC East. They are the class of the NFL right now
And-
because they've got the best coach and the best player who also happens to be the best quarterback in the game.
Now, also, that poor guy, what happened to him? That coach or the owner that's selling his team?
Oh, yes.
Oh, baby.
Jerry Richardson is officially selling the Carolina Panthers.
Dressing up.
Why, you might
to
ask?
see my
Because
picture.
apparently there has been an investigation against him and his front office.
I have
And as it turns out, not only has there been some racism on his part.
Racism?
Gee, what a shock.
Oh, my God.
There's
really?
also been some.
No.
There's also been a bit of a sex scandal involving the owner as well.
I'm sorry. I can't help it. I mean, no, I never had that.
But you're not going to believe who wants
Look
to
at that.
enter.
See that? Sex scandal right here. She's touching me.
Guess
Can't do it.
who wants to be the guy that wants to buy the Carolina Panthers?
Donald Trump, because he always wanted one.
Better. P. Diddy.
P. Diddy?
P. Diddy wants to buy the Carolina
you
Panthers.
You know something? I could see him or Mark Cuban, because Mark Cuban always wanted one. And Donald Trump, dear God, as a president, I may not like you much, but I want you to do really good. I really do. Secondly, he always wanted to have a football team, as you well know.
He had the
And-
Generals.
And he's got it in for the football team. But Mark Cuban always wanted it. P. Diddy, I can see.
P. Diddy actually has two guys who want to join him
Oh, good
in
Lord.
buying the Panthers.
Now, you know,
Steph Curry,
Steph Curry.
and wait for it,
favorite?
Colin Kaepernick.
Colin Kaepernick.
Why?
Why?
That's what I gotta
Why
say.
not?
He wants to get back in the game
wants to get
in
back in the
some
game.
capacity. If it can't be as a player, at least it's going to be as a part owner.
Now let's talk about wrestling for a second.
I know a
Now,
little bit about
what?
that.
Yeah, I know. Give him a microphone, please.
All right,
I'll
you can
share
take
him.
my microphone over here,
No,
Tracy.
'cause I want him. The question that I wanted to ask him was: Hideo Itami's coming to live 205 Live.
I don't watch too much of that.
That's
but
NXT, man. That's NXT, WWE NXT.
What's a 205 Live? It was just the
205 Live,
cruiserweight
yeah,
division.
but the cruiserweight division. But Hideo Itami, one of the best performers. That unless he gets hurt, that boy can wrestle. What are you thinking of what Jaime said about the last African American, the last Latino? What do you think about that? That's going on in WWE.
Well, I didn't quite catch what you said.
Go ahead, give him a little rough.
Hector
draft,
and I
'cause we
were
got 1
talking
minute
about
left.
why
Good, man.
the business of wrestling has not had more African American world heavyweight champions or minority world
Minorities in
heavyweight
general,
champions for that
in
matter.
WWE.
Actually, I can answer that easily.
Okay.
If you
besides
stop to
racist.
think about it, they've had 3 black world champions.
That's tag team.
No.
Okay, name 'em.
First black world champion, Ron Simmons. WCW.
That's
April
WCW.
1992.
Right. Okay.
Second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth were Booker T.
But that's
In
WCW.
WCW.
That's WCW, not
Booker T
WWE.
also held the WWE world title.
Yeah. So that's
And-
2 out of how many years?
Yeah, that's 2.
That's
The third
Th- th-
was Mark Henry.
That's 3 in how many years? Good God. How was your singing career going, dearie?
It's doing okay. It's taking its pace, but I'm doing all right. So
How modeling going okay?
everything.
Acting going okay?
Yeah.
And I'm going to be in the Underdogs Netflix movie soon too. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't. So Marcus Rivera
playing,
out there.
Underdog?
So Marcus Rivera, I want to interview you once again, and we got 30-something seconds left.
Well, wait a minute. You
Anything-
were also talking about, how'd you put it, minority world champions?
minority, because it's
Well,
always
Pedro
about African.
Morales.
Pedro Morales was the last Puerto Rican, but then
was
you
the
had Hector
only-
Guerrero.
He was the
Only-
only Puerto Rican world
that
champion.
held the WWE. And look how long that's it.
That was in 1971 to
and Hector
1973.
Guerrero, Rey Mysterio held the heavyweight title.
Wait,
So,
Rey
ladies and
Mysterio
gentlemen,
held the world title.
ladies
Eddie Guerrero
yeah.
held the
Ladies and gentlemen,
WWE
without
world
further
title.
ado,
Good night, everyone.
the Father says, God bless you all.